welcome to another episode of Nerds Amalgamated. I am the DJ, and with me today I have Davy Boy and the Professor.
Hello.
Uncomfortable silence.
Hello there.
Uncomfortable silence and Davy Boy going all Hannibal Lecter.
These are prequel memes, mate. Hello there.
General Kenobi! How far you reckon we could get into this, doing just memes?
Ya don't say.
Oh God, I freaked up the name. What's the word? Oh, Annie, my boat's aching. There's a storm brewing, Annie. You better run home now.
Run home, Anakin, while I have the higher ground.
I hate sand. It's coarse and rough. Gets into everything.
Wow.
Sounds like you got. Sounds like
These
you're.
people are terrible.
Have you guys heard of the story of Dark Plagueis the Wise? I know
No.
I'm terrible. That's what I do best.
We're terrible human beings. When
Like
AJ,
that.
make him stop.
It's like that. We've derailed this thing completely already 5 minutes in.
Yep.
Not even
And-
that. It's been like
and-
2 minutes.
Yep.
Ah, so longer then. I see. All right, keep bringing the memes on.
Oh.
No, that's just
So, how have you gentlemen been?
all right.
Sounds like the first week of uni and it's worn you down.
Yeah, you can say that. I hardly have done anything yet. I'm just like, okay, back to this again.
Well, the first week's a bludge week anyway.
Oh, indeed.
That's for the undergrads before.
oh no,
that's
we're technically second week. O week was the week before, so
Yeah, but nobody goes to O week once you pass your first year.
pretty
Yeah.
much right. Unless you want free shit, because that's pretty much what I always got from O week. Seriously, the first
True.
week every time I went to O week, I got like 4 months supply of shampoo for free. It's like cool.
Although it's interesting how, like, for this year's O week, it hasn't been, like, not much because the corona.
Well, yeah. I mean, what else were they supposed to do? Give out? I don't know. Come here, kids, get coronavirus.
Hand out masks.
I believe they did hand out masks as the freebie this year.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how about you, Professor? How are you?
I'm enjoying being a productive member of society. Having a full-time job, being off the youth allowance.
Rub it in my face, hey.
I
Get
bet
back
you
one day.
I bet you in the next few days we're gonna hear like stories of some man in the south side died mysteriously, leaving a trail of waifu pillows along the way.
Don't reveal my plan.
I'll be honest, I kind of miss uni. I like the learning, but yeah, it's so nice being able to leave your work at work.
Yes, I agree 100%. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, me too. So our first story, we've got a story about a
Come
smile.
on, you missed it. You could have mentioned having social skills at work, and then you could have segued into social skills and smiling. And
He has no segue. He has no social skills.
My
What do
segue
you want
fe-
from
I'm
him?
sitting here wanting to do it, and I can't.
My segue fell off the ramp.
I think he more like fell off the ramp and fell into a lava pit and then exploded. There wasn't a segue at all.
The founder did die falling off a cliff.
Oh, jeez, okay.
Yeah, he
Oh.
rolled off the path to get out of the way of someone else. And yeah.
My word.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, speaking of all things evil and bad, we got a story about a smile can increase or decrease a person's trustworthiness depending on personality.
Indeed. Now, I went through some general feedback from comments and stuff, as well as read it myself, and some people were saying that the data from this source isn't 100% trustworthy because their use case was a bit small. So let's put that before we talk about just to make sure everyone's on the same page. But basically, there's been a new study conducted which has found that a smile can increase or decrease how trustworthy you are, and based on your perceived personality. It's basically a new scientific research that was published in the PLOS 1, examined how personality traits and facial expression influence perceptions of trustworthiness. Pretty much is a study of 262 participants. Words. In a study of 262 participants were asked to play an economical investment game with another person. In reality, the other person was an intervention of the researchers. So it's basically someone they put in there to monitor and basically try and see how it's going to affect their participant. So the participant read a brief description of the person, which described them as having traits considered to either borderline personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, or no personality or psychological disorder. These depictions were paired with a brief video clip that showed them with either a neutral expression or a smile. So in the investment game, each participant was given $0.50, so just 50 cents. It was free to decide how much of that money he or she would give the other person. The participant was informed that the amount given to the other person would be tripled, and the other person would then either share back some of what they received or all of it. So we give the other person, they will triple the amount of money you have. The money transferred by the participant to the other person saved as an inactive trust. And they basically found that depending on that perceived previous information, if someone's was, depending on the emotional state of that person was through the smile, depends on how actually the participants would either give the money or not. So yeah, what do you guys think?
Well, it's interesting that, I think in the past I might have heard that a smile is rated as more attractive when the person is attractive, which sounds sort of obvious, but as opposed to where your personality traits are reflected in your reflected in your smile. This is the thing, though,
because the title was misleading. So I just read the part I was wanting to say. So participants tended to transfer less money when the other person was described as having a borderline personality disorder or antisocial personality disorder, in comparison to those described as having nothing, right?
But the participant doesn't know who what the other person is diagnosed with, do they?
They do. So that was the original. So the original will go in and they'll tell you, give you basically a sheet explaining this person. But the smile part comes into if that person, regardless of if they have a personality disorder, the smile would increase the amount of money transferred for both those described as having, the personality disorder itself. So pretty much if someone is malicious or something or has, these disorders or things, basically from that research they conducted is that if you have a smile, as, I guess you're saying already, Professor, it increases the chances that people will be more willing to do things for you and interact with you, of course.
I wonder if this will bring in new algorithms to modify facial recognition software.
I would be highly sure facial recognition software would already be tracking facial expression of some variety, but in terms of how it is perceived, if the known individual has a disorder or something, right? Something that makes them less trustworthy, I think the smile could impact on those results. It wouldn't impact on the results from computer system, because what's the point, really? I don't see a use case for that technically.
Yeah, I don't know how useful this study is either, because you already know the person has a mental condition, and it's not like so it sort of makes sense that if you see someone with a mental condition and they're smiling, then particularly if they have antisocial personality disorder, which is you're going to think, how are they going to screw me over?
Yeah, that's why I had that thing at the start, because I was reading through some reviews and stuff of the article and people saying, I left it to read it now so then I could get my thoughts out as we read through it. And I can see now particularly what people were identifying as why this article was feeling because it doesn't make sense from a scientific experimental standpoint that you're going to tell people, of course a smile is going to increase things. What I mean? If someone smiles, the whole point. It's meant to make them more trustworthy. But I guess an interesting thing to see would have been if people could identify if someone was iffy based on their smile, but obviously it's hasn't been conducted in that way.
The interesting part with this would be it will put into question years and years of practicing the art of recognizing facial movements to identify guilt or...
Which is mostly debunked these days.
Pretty much.
Yeah, there was this theory of micro expressions. So if the interviewer says to you, what were you doing on the night of whatever, and film you with a high-speed camera, they'll see you pull a face and that will give away your guilt of being the killer or whatever. It's debunked.
I'm nervous. I'm smiling at the police officer. oh, he shot me.
Yeah, it's like lie detectors.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Not admissible in court because
Jesus Christ.
they're so damn inaccurate. And of course you're going to show a stress response.
Yeah, true in court, mate. Like, even the inventor of the lie detector, he specifically went out after a couple of years of doing studies and was like, no, they're not trustworthy at all. What are you doing?
But why do shows like Jeremy Kyle and all those shows use them? Like, even though they're not that trustworthy at all.
Because plot devices. They work as good plot devices because you can go, how do we work out this person? Like, how do we make it so we can, if you have like, a ton of random people running around, one's a murderer, right? And somehow these investigators have got to be smart. They've got to work out who the killer is. Oh, let's chuck him onto a lie detector. Oh, he's lying. He must be wrong. You know what I mean? For a lot of soap operas and stuff, or police soap operas, it's a really easy way to just have the convenient cops go, he's guilty.
Yeah, these days, if you get a lie detector, it's mostly a intimidation tactic.
Pretty much, yeah.
And what's the other famous one? Sodium pentothal, the truth serum.
What? I've never heard of this.
There is a drug called sodium pentothal. It's technically called truth serum, but it's not really a thing. A second.
Yeah, that's been... people have been claiming that for decades, even longer.
Yeah, that sounds very fishy.
I think there is one that's supposed to make you very suggestible. Mine start with a K. It's not ketamine, I don't think. But the idea is that if you get dosed up with this drug, you will agree with whatever anyone tells you. So if you get dosed up and someone says, why don't you tell me about the thing, you'll do it. But you'll know you're dosed up, and it's more of a you go along with it, not like you get dosed up and then you can't lie.
There we go. Sodium thiopental, known as sodium pentothal. It's the safest, most effective medicines needed in the health system, but supplanted by propofol. What else is there? Truth serum. Here we go. So truth serum is used in places to weaken the resolve of a subject and make them compliant to pressure. The barbiturates, as a class, decrease higher cortical brain functioning, and also due to the loss of inhibition produced by barbiturates. Some psychiatrists hypothesize that because lying is more complex than telling the truth, suppression of the higher cortical functions may lead to uncovering the truth. And
so basically, you're going to feel pretty stoned.
Yeah. It's the drug tends to make subjects loquacious and cooperative with interrogators. However, the reliability of confessions made under thiopental is questionable.
Well, I'm surprised it's still using like this. I was looking through the Wikipedia right now. And it's like, May 6, 2010, used for some court case. Like, I thought it would have been outdated.
They're not going to stop using it until something makes them.
Yeah, sorry. That one's in India, United States. Yeah, it's 1961, 90. So 1960s they used it, and they haven't used it any time recently. But India's still using it. So is Russia. So they're both using it, but United States seems to have not used it for quite a while, based off what Wikipedia from my skimming.
Yeah.
Oh no, most recent time was in 2012. 2012 last time. Okay, so everyone still uses it then.
Yeah, like the court wants to get a confession from someone because it makes everyone's day easier.
And true.
Which is why, even though it's not admissible in court, when they do a police interrogation, they'll still use a lie detector because they want to intimidate you into admitting to it. And who cares if they get a false positive because they got that man. Case closed.
Ding dong, we have the bomb.
And so, and not to mention, there are other factors as well. When you're nervous and you're smiling, like other parts of your body may also react as well. Like you might get a shaky hand or a jiggling foot.
Indeed, and that's the thing about the study, which I feel is very off. Like at first, it feels like okay, this could be interesting, right? But then you look into the actual methods, and it's just like, that doesn't really match up very well, does it?
And as is tradition in psychology studies, 2 studies came up with opposite results. So their first study found that you were more likely to give money to people with borderline personality disorder, or I think it was someone without a disorder. And the second test found that you'd give more money to antisocial personality disorder.
That's
the more I hear
because-
about this, the less I'm thinking this is a reliable
That's
study.
because the first experiment described the antisocial person as being disobedient, a frequent liar, and violently argumentative. But the second experiment described the antisocial person as being remorseless, impulsive, and reckless. So it's so they changed up the use case in that sense.
True. Yeah, that is a fairly different personality.
Mm-hmm.
One's more manipulative, the other's more screw the consequences.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the fact is though, like even though we got all these like studies saying that it could reduce the trustworthiness, if you try and apply this outside the realm, outside the realm of real life, it's like, oh, how do I perceive this? Do I need a handbook? Like, okay, he's doing a nervous itch, he's smiling. Do I trust him or don't trust him? And
I mean, if that was a thing and they could give it to kids with autism and Asperger's, that would be really nice.
it would can you imagine putting this type of mechanic in the game?
Well, that's L.A. Noire, basically.
That is true, yeah. But LONR.
Except really hard to actually do that because since they're actors, they are technically always lying. So even though they modeled the faces off real actors, I think it still comes across as like the facial expressions are basically just there for show because they're lying either way.
Yep.
I do like the concept though.
Yeah.
We've just got to find real killers and bank robbers and stuff to make it more realistic.
Well,
I think there is one way we could do that. It's good cop, bad cop.
good cop, bad cop.
You
Sounds
know,
like a Dr.
Professor does the good cop, Debbie Boy does the bad cop.
Oh, it sounds like a Dr. Seuss book. Good cop, bad cop, strange cop, nice cop.
Yeah, it's an old TV trope where in a crime show, one of the cops will beat up the guy, the other cop will be all, oh man, you're right, you want some coffee? Well,
You
we're
want some
going to
coffee,
be
man?
really nice here. And the idea is the, carrot and the stick. They don't want to deal with the bad cop, so they'll confess to the good cop to get out of there.
That's also going to be an interesting thing as well. Like, if you put like a carrot and stick approach with the whole smiling thing, that's going to be another interesting circumstance as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to manipulate people.
Indeed.
There's a lot of ways to express something as a human, which is why mind reading and everything rubbish.
I'm sorry, every time you say Karen, I'm thinking Karen. As in, it's like Karen's going to go to the cops.
Karen wants to see the cops manager.
Freaking Cave Johnson as a cop. I mean, Karen. I demand to see life's manager.
Speaking of seeing a manager and all, Debbie Boy, you got a story about Microsoft Flight Sim.
That was a terrible segue.
It was. Where's the manager in this?
What was that?
I am the manager.
Well, sort of, but same time, doesn't make sense. Okay, anyways. So, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 is coming, which I'm very hyped for, because I love playing the original one. It's been released recently that if you want to get a physical copy, it's got... Take a guess, how many discs will it be?
At least 1.
10!
See, I was within an order of magnitude.
Just times it by 10, you'll have 10, then you'll be right. So the new version of Microsoft Flight Simulator is going to come on 10 discs, and these are not Blu-ray. These are not Blu-rays, these are DVD, CD-ROM discs. Well, they say DVD, CD-ROMs, like, these days, the difference between them, people, who says they're DVDs?
Yeah, they are dual-layer DVDs as well.
Yeah, so dual-layer DVDs, and that's going to come up to a total file size of 85 gigabytes, which that's no small means of amount of data, which, I mean, when you've pretty much some of the headline, grabs that Microsoft's been putting out lately, it's like every single airport in the whole world's been modeled and every one single one you can fly into, like, okay, understandable. So it's going to come a multi-folding case of 10 DVDs, it's going to be a fun time trying to install that.
A pretty looking manual, though.
It is. It's very nice with a with a hard-covered manual book as well. So
I wonder what's the collector's edition of that game would be.
I mean, I think this would probably be...
Comes with a real Cessna.
Bring it in, boys.
Oh boy, so it's 85 gigabytes compressed. The actual game full file size, so this will be how you download it from Steam or something, will be 150 gigabytes.
Yeah, and they're like, we're doing this to make it easier for people with slow internet connections.
Pretty much.
They've still got to download a third of the game. And since it is quite heavily reliant on streaming, it's going to be a bit of a data hog, I reckon.
Oh boy, I would expect so. And it looks absolutely beautiful, but it's going to take some time. I love that a lot of comments on this PC Gamer article. It's like, DVDs. I don't have a DVD-ROM drive. You want me?
There's probably more people with a DVD drive than a Blu-ray drive.
I mean, obviously. But I think someone did make a good question. It's like, why not put it on a USB? Like a 1 terabyte USB. I guess
they already have that for Windows.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a few USBs. I know that you can make the USBs locked, so you can't like copy it off and start distributing it with all your friends at school.
Well, since it's an online game, I don't think it's going to matter if you did copy the discs, because you're still going to need an account with Microsoft. It's probably going to get tied to your Microsoft Store account.
True, but if they're doing physical copies, and those copies themselves will increase money, so...
This kind of system reminds me of the old 1990s games where they were like, okay, we've got 4 discs just to install this one game.
Yeah, the most I can ever remember doing is probably around 2008, the Aragon PC game. I think that was 8 CDs.
What?
I mean, you could then go the opposite direction and go away from CDs and go to just floppy drives. Then you have a fun time. I don't remember what the most floppy drives I've ever seen was. I mean, Microsoft Flight Simulator is, it's a pretty well-known genre for having extremely large installed DVDs. Because I know, like, the original not the original Microsoft Flight Simulator, but Flight Simulator X Gold Edition, which was the latest one until this, still had, like, 4 DVDs for install and stuff. So it's,
that's an interesting comparison. I've got a Flight Sim X here, so I've got it through Steam, and it is currently installed at, 16.5 gigabytes.
Geez, that is a difference. But I mean, granted, it's
10 years old now.
Yeah, it's
at least.
That for back in 2010, that would be still a rather large game.
Yeah, and it is graphically showing its age, but it is still a very functional flight simulator game.
Indeed,
I still play Falcon BMS, which is based on a simulator from the late 90s.
The good old Red Dead Redemption 2, and how when news came out that it was going to be 2 discs, everyone lost their mind.
What, 2 disc on console?
Yeah.
That's so
been a while since I've seen that.
Surprising. I mean,
I was going to say, here are some other multi-disc video games that you might remember. Metal Gear Solid.
True, yes.
Resident Evil 2. Killer 7.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of games that have done 1 or 2 discs, but how many do 10?
Yeah.
There was that weird time between like the transition of CD to DVD where you'd get games like Aragon at 8 discs, but they stopped doing that after DVD came out.
True. Yeah.
And then we did Blu-ray for a little bit, but never on PC because we had Steam.
Final Fantasy VII was a 3-disc, and 13 was a 3-disc as well.
Yep.
Mass Effect 2.
Someone's commented on the post. It's disappointing that there isn't a version that comes with 200,360 floppy disks. And then some post below, it's like, don't worry, mate, it arrives in a truck.
God, and those are so fragile. They'd probably wipe each other just sitting in the truck.
Oh.
And then you unload it and you'll get to disk 99 and it will corrupt and you'll have to start again. There's a reason we stopped doing this.
Look, if someone did it for a joke, I would applaud them with all my monies.
I remember when Skyrim came out, there being a meme of a stack of floppies with Skyrim floppy edition.
It runs in a Commodore 64. Just takes you 3 days to load.
Do you reckon this...
Well, technically, the first Daggerfall game has a bigger map than Skyrim.
Technically, but it's really not.
It's randomly generated, so...
Yeah. You can't... I mean, given Skyrim's map is, it's all hand placed, Daggerfall is technically bigger, but at the same time, like, not to say one is better than the other, because each should go about a different method, of course.
I've made a mistake. Don't Google Skyrim floppy edition. Why do people have to corrupt everything?
I know that feeling.
I just searched the second you did that. I was searching, and then you said that. I'm like, oh god.
Oh yeah. I will say this: do you reckon they're using this whole 10 disc thing as a nostalgia thing?
Oh no, it's because it'll be because that for one, people that want physical versions of games, and the second reason is as a way for those with not that high internet speeds to still own it.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, I get the whole I get the whole physical copy of the game, but really, honestly though, like, do you really want to get like a physical copy of a game nowadays? Like with Steam and Epic and all these game shops going.
I want a physical copy of a game. I like having it on my shelf. But the people who have like shitty internet speeds, they will need this.
True,
Indeed.
that's true.
Yeah, I haven't bought a hard copy game in quite a while now. But I would buy this because it comes with such a nice book.
Yeah, that's true.
I like big books and I cannot lie.
At least on the bright side is at least they didn't do what Bethesda did, which was give out which gave a paper disc when you buy the game. Say like, here's the game code, just download the game.
This is weird. Hang on. So in the product description, I'm looking at the Oz PC Gamer Shop where they've got the physical edition for sale, and it says in the description, it says 3,000 airports, 2 million cities, 1.5 billion buildings. Blah blah blah. Pretty impressive. But then it says contents for standard edition: 20 aircraft, 30 high detailed airports, poster showing key assignments, and then the manual. So what's the high detailed airports?
So I reckon the airports would be Sydney.
Well, it says it has every airport in the
difference is most airports are generated from satellite image and manually.
I see.
The difference is auto-generated from satellite or blueprint, or manually built by someone going and hand placing the buildings.
That'll be why. Okay.
Yeah. So the auto-gen will work, but it'll be a bit wonky, obviously.
So the 37,000 airports, most of those will be satellite generated, and the 30 high detailed airports will be the ones done by the developers.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, that's unfortunate, but understandable. Because, who's going to be able to model 37,000 airports?
At least this game came out after so many years of hype, and finally there's a product compared to what's that game? StarCon, was it?
I have to ask, was there hype for Microsoft Flight Simulator? Because there's hype now, but...
No, there wasn't really until they announced it.
Yeah, because everyone's like, Microsoft Flight Simulator was the one thing in the back of everyone's mind was like, it's that thing Microsoft does, everyone loves, but they do it when they feel like it. Yeah.
But no one was asking for it.
No, and then they do it. Everyone's like, I'm happy with this. This is good.
I wonder what I think, as I said earlier on, I wonder how the collector's edition would be like. Imagine getting like a 10 model planes or a diorama or something like that.
I doubt Microsoft Flight Simulator will have the collector's edition, I'll be honest, because it's not the sort of game which probably would benefit from it. I don't know. They might.
Collector's editions are for console plebs who don't have Steam.
They haven't really announced any collector's edition at all, so I would bet it'll be just that physical release, which I think will be enough because it's a flight simulator. What are you going to do? Like, the most collector edition thing that Microsoft Flight Simulator has ever done, and that is basically plane packs, where basically it'll be collector's edition where you get some extra planes. Example here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they went for the DCS model and started charging significant amounts for individual aircraft.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think at the moment you can buy third-party planes for Flight Simulator X, but I don't think they sell any DLC themselves.
Would you be surprised if they put microtransactions into the new Flight Sim?
Don't give them ideas.
Please don't.
I mean, Microsoft hasn't done any microtransactions, dodgy microtransaction stuff, unlike certain.
They're not as bad as some, but
they're not as bad, but they have dabbled in it. So
yeah.
not to mention,
Minecraft is a Microsoft game. When it got bought by Microsoft, they started doing microtransactions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not to mention you got Xbox Pass, which I mean that's sort of microtransaction as well. So
well, at least it will be in history as a great flight sim game that everyone would love.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And speaking of great flight sim stuff and all things great, Professor, you got a story about the future of Paul Allen's Living Computer Museum and Labs.
It's a bit tragic, really. The Living Computer Museum and Labs is a project by Paul Allen, one of the Microsoft founders. It's the kind of place where instead of just showing the computers in a museum behind glass, you can walk in and touch them. You can use them. You can log in, or you could log into that PDPs over the internet. And now you can't because they're going to shut down. Unfortunately, they've decided that the announcement says if or when they reopen, which I'm not taking too hopefully.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very good, does it?
Yeah.
It's basically like someone saying, "Don't worry, we'll be back."
A few moments later.
Yeah, it's a tragedy, really, because this is probably the best computer museum on Earth. It's the only place you can see this many antique computers all running.
What kind of computers they had? Did they have any what's the name? Did they have any earlier vacuum tube based computers?
I don't know.
Because I know the English Center of Computer Science and Computing has some.
Yeah, I've unfortunately never been there.
Oh.
But I don't know about any tube computers. They one of their oldest is the CDC 6500 from 1967.
That's still pretty damn old, so I'll congratulate them regardless.
Yeah, and it runs. That CDC.
Oh boy.
You could log into it over the internet.
Wait, over the internet?
Yeah, that was one of their things. You could apply for an account to play around with these PDPs and VAXs and the CDC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I imagine if they're shutting down the museum, they'll probably shut down the shut down the rest of it too. Actually, here we go. The PDP-8E, 1965, so a bit older. But I don't see any tube-based computers.
I mean, that makes sense. They're possibly ridiculously expensive to keep running.
Yeah, much harder to keep running since you can't get off-the-shelf parts anymore. Not that you can get them for the old ones, but you can at least repair them with modern parts. Tube manufacturing is a bit of a lost art. There's only a couple of people that make any kind of vacuum tube these days.
Yeah, understandable though, of course. Someone should make a vacuum tube smartwatch.
Well, I am quite a fan of Nixie tube smartwatches.
Oh, yes.
Which aren't vacuum logic, but they are vacuum tube displays.
Just got to pay a pretty penny for them. I've had my eye on them for a while.
Or build it yourself. Keep an eye out for cheap Nixies coming out of the Ukraine. I've got a box of them right here.
God damn you. God.
Not watch size though. I've got I don't remember what size these are.
Are they long? Are they the fatty ones?
No, they're end view and
okay. Yeah.
I think IN2, that's it.
I've got some NView ones. I don't know the actual product number. I've got a clock. They've been running for a good few years now. They're really nice.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't decided what I'm doing with these yet. I wanted at one point to build a Kerbal Space Program controller using these as maybe a altimeter.
Seriously though, aren't museums government funded though?
Not all of them.
Especially in America.
Yeah. So museums like the Smithsonian are government funded, I think. But the LCM was a project of passion.
I mean, if they get the government funding for this, it could potentially save them.
That does seem, it'd be lovely, but I would highly not expect it to happen. Like, if it did, bravo, but I wouldn't probably put any bets on it.
That would involve handing over all of this to the government. Do you trust the American government to look after computers? Have you seen the state of American technology?
Yep.
Well, hey. If they were still running their nuclear launch code, software, on old 60s computers until like 2015, then I guess they have a good track record of keeping them going.
Hey, look on the bright side. At least it will beat the Chinese, and they're getting better computers. We still have better computers, China. We still have better computers.
Couldn't even start to run PUBG on anything in this museum.
Good luck.
But yeah,
this is so one of the few places you could do a game of Space War on the original hardware.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I've seen videos which I'm pretty sure are from LCM.
That is remarkable.
Yeah, so I imagine now they're going to shut down the online system soon, which I'd always been meaning to check it out, but I never did.
So why was it closing in the first place?
Paul died a couple of years ago.
Oh.
And with the corona going around, they closed temporarily. But their new announcement is other things as well shutting down. Like the company, holding company or whatever you call it, that Paul Allen set up. They've decided they're going to shut down. They're claiming it's because of the corona, but they want to evolve as an organization following the death of their co-founder.
Interesting.
They're closing down Vulcan Arts Plus Entertainment and Vulcan Productions.
So what do you think they're trying to do? Like, that's weird.
I don't know. I'd like to think Paul was smart enough to set up some sort of trust that would invest his money and make sure they never ran out of it. But it's not just the Living Computer Museum. The threat is also to Cinerama, which is a vintage film cinema.
Oh.
Yeah.
Understandable. Who film-wise,
Yeah, the Flying Heritage and Combat Armor Museum.
He had a few museums, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. Here's an interesting fact for you guys. In the fiscal year of 2016, the NEA, which is the National Endowment for Arts, has a budget of $148 million.
Well, that's going to be split across a whole bunch of museums.
Oh yeah, and this is 3.9 trillion government spending budget. And
that's really not much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and here's an interesting one. The NEA's budget of 148 million is divided up among 19 different categories, including arts, education, dance, music, and opera. The NEH, which is the National Endowment for the Humanities, gets a similar allocation of 148 million, while CPD, which funds the National Public Radio, gets 445. So that's insane.
Not really. Like, if you break that across a ton of museums, it's gonna...
And compared to government spending in other areas.
Like, it's like a lot of things. It sounds like a lot until you break down the numbers, and it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, did you see Bill Gates putting in his money just to try and help get the museum running for a while?
Please, Bill.
Please, Uncle Bill, please. Save your friend's project.
I take back everything I said about Windows Vista. But not Windows ME. We're not doing that.
Hey.
Yes,
what did Windows ME ever do to you?
I think the professor's got like 1,000-mile stare going.
Actually, no, I never used ME. I was on 98 up until
XP.
Yeah. Yes. So this isn't the first thing that's been shut down since Paul died. So one of his other projects, Upstream Music Fest and Summit, shut down in 2019. So I hope this is a temporary closure and not that his estate hoarding the money for themselves.
Right. Well, at least his works will hopefully live on in other ways. Yep. Kind of like Keanu Reeves with his new work. He's now joined the realm of comic book writing.
That segue was slightly better.
Thank you. We're improving over the night.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
So Keanu Reeves, he's been an A-list movie star, and now musician, director, producer. Now he's doing comic book writing, and he's his first creation is a 12-issue limited series called BRZRKR, which is BRZRKR by Boom Studios. And the first issue is coming in October 7th. And the story goes like this. The man, known as BRZRKR, is half mortal and half god, cursed and compelled to violence, even at the sacrifice of his own sanity. But after wandering the world for centuries, BRZRKR may have finally found a refuge, working for the US government to fight the battle too violent and too dangerous for anyone. In exchange, BRZRKR will be granted the one thing he desired, the truth about his endless, blood-soaked existence and how to end it.
So he's US Special Forces.
Yeah, very much.
This is going to go differently.
Well, he loves it. Well, he loves doing comics. I mean, he previously expressed
I'm talking about the BRZRKR character.
Oh, right. Sorry.
So he's a US Special Forces sent in for the battles the US Army don't want to fight.
Yep.
So let's see. You're going to take out the guy, but you're going to get about 50 civilians. You're going to wreck the local infrastructure. You're probably going to kidnap someone and take them to a black site.
Oh, and let's not forget, he's also immortal.
Yeah.
Oh, the most important piece of information, of course.
So, he was saying that this character who was born 80,000 years old. His father is a war god, and Reeves said that he had this image in his head of a guy fighting through the ages because of his father's compulsion to violence, but with the pathos of a man trapped in trying to figure out.
So there's God of War then?
I think so. I am Kratos.
I got daddy issues. I'm going to go kill things.
But it's interesting though. I mean, I like how Keanu Reeves is going into pop culture all the time. Like, this isn't the first time he's done it though, because he's previously expressed interest in playing a couple of Marvel characters in the movies, and he wanted to play as Spike in the Cowboy Bebop live action.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't think he would have made a good Spike though. He just doesn't have the grudge to it, I feel.
Yeah, I know. John Wick would. I know. Like, if you talk, I don't know. John Wick would have cemented that Spike role for me.
Potentially, I would have had to seen it, but unfortunately, I guess not gonna happen.
So, this project is illustrated by Alexandra Vitti. And who else is in this one as well? Dang it, I lost it. It's co-written by Matthew Kint, and I forgot the person that's with the surname Reeves. But yeah. So Reeves brings creativity to this action and the backstory of the characters. Kint says he's been open to me inserting my fascination for history, conspiracies, and espionage into the mix, along with the fragmented narrative structure. And Reeves also explained more about this character, as in he sports a good sense of humor. He's a warm guy, but world-weary because of his past. He's seen a lot, basically.
Wow. I can't think of a more original character.
And also
the battle-hardened warrior. So original.
And he has a perfect memory and his ability to speak many languages.
I'm like, is this for...
He's a bit of a Mary Sue there, isn't he?
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
It's funny how he said it's Keanu. Sorry, Keanu's writing this as well. He said we have hopefully some nice scenes where they're looking at hieroglyphics, and he's like, no, you got that wrong. Reeves says, and there's things like, hey man, I wasn't everywhere. I'm only just one guy. But this comic will be great in terms of having a lot of ultra violence panels in it. Ultra
violence. Oh, ultraviolet isn't violent. I thought you meant ultraviolet light. And I was like, oh, that'd be pretty.
That would be cool. Oh, a horror movie, a horror comic. You get to the end and they're like, oh, by the way, shine your UV light at the page, and all through it you see the monsters.
Well, do you know Gravity Falls?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the special edition of that actually had ultraviolet light hidden messages.
Cool.
So it's been done before. So it's definitely doable. So go on, Keanu. Do it.
Yeah. So with this one, he says, it's like, yeah, I think it would be fun just to see him punch through someone's chest or pull out a rib or an arm off. BRZRKR can heal to a certain extent, so it's fun to have these kinds of outrageous consequences and still have the character kind of moving forward. And interestingly, he wants to play as BRZRKR if it goes to Netflix.
Of course. I was about to say, come on, where is it?
So it's basically Wolverine. So the story is basically Wolverine.
It's a self-insert.
Wolverine, but self-insert fan fiction.
I mean,
Keanu, this isn't good. There's a reason we laugh at people who do this.
Boom Studios editor-in-chief Matt Gannon says, Keanu's a creative force like none other. It's been a once-in-a-lifetime experience collaborating on his first ever comic book project. The great Matt Kint is also my absolute favorite creators with glove in hand, with Keanu on the scripts, Alexander Vitti, and Raphael Grandpa sending searing covers. It's viscerally, masterly crafted comic book epic.
Hell yeah.
Although it's interesting how this is not the first time like Hollywood celebrities have decided to jump into the comic book industry. I mean, J.J. Abrams decided to delve into the comic book industry as well.
If you can tell a story in one medium, it often, especially ones as closely related as movies and comics, it probably transfers well because they're very similar. The difference is comics are only one frame per panel, per camera angle, you know. You're not, it's not like a movie, 30 frames a second. It's just the one frame, then you move on to the next shot. So a lot transfers over, the framing, the pacing, I think it makes sense for people to move from movies into comics.
Yeah, but the thing with J.J. Abrams' Spider-Man reveal was it was so bad, apparently.
What Spider-Man reveal do you mean?
So J.J. Abrams and his son made a Spider-Man comic,
Okay.
Yeah, it apparently just felt, it was just terrible.
Well, okay, they're not all gonna be great.
But I agree with you there. Like, it's interesting how people are just moving from one medium to another. I agree with you there. I wonder how many Easter eggs are we gonna find in the in the comic book though? Like, are we gonna see like Matrix Easter eggs or John Wick Easter eggs or maybe Bill and Ted?
Probably.
So, Professor, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Forager, which is a sort of an idle game version of Factorio. It's I feel like there's a bit too much RNG though. I'm at the point now where I need a lot of rubies and emeralds and stuff to finish to sort of advance to the next level, the next tech level, and I don't feel like I have any way to influence that other than just grind out a whole bunch of mining.
Why does this game remind me of Stardew Valley?
Shouldn't.
It just has that it just has that element of Stardew Valley in terms of you're planting stuff, you go home and you're exploring stuff.
Well, it's a top-down farming factory type game, so you know there's only like 100 of them.
That's true. What's the biggest flaw you've encountered for this game?
Just the RNG aspect.
Okay.
Like in Factorio, if I want more coal, I can go and build a coal mine. In this case, I want more rubies, but since it's RNG and fairly rare RNG, I have to wait for a patch of rock to spawn on my island, mine the patch of rock, hope I got a ruby, otherwise I gotta wait. And I need a lot of them to build the next level.
Okay. So how many nerdy beanies out of 5 would you give that game out of?
Only 2.5. It looks like it has a lot of endgame content and people are liking it a lot, so maybe I'll just cheat my way past this level and see how it goes, but I'm not too impressed so far.
Fair enough. So, Debbie Boy, what have you been playing?
VR chat.
Addict.
I am
This is an intervention.
Yes, I'm an antisocial addict. Help me, please.
So, who did you pose this time?
Move on.
It's not. It's gonna stuck. It's gonna sting him.
Nah, just. I've been playing as a little anime like tank girl, where basically I can create I'm playing as like it's a meme of like Soviet Russia, and I can go around marching in my own army, creeping people out. Fun.
Do you sing Russian marching songs?
Pretty much.
Nice.
So everyone's like, what? It's like, everyone just goes like, where's this person? There's this whole army coming. Cringy things. I'll give it probably a 4, usual, because I've played it too many times.
Although I do want to ask though, like how many? There must be a lot of people on VR chat.
Yeah, there is quite a few. It's a very surprised how much has kept up the theme over the years.
Yeah. After the Do You Know the Way?
Oh, please don't. No.
I've been playing Nora, and it's an escape game in terms of you're a science experiment and you're trying to get out of a lab. And you play as Lupa, a monster is trying to get out of the abandoned lab and onto the surface. And it is created by the students of Digipen as well.
Yeah, good guys.
Yeah. It's a precision jumper, precision platformer, right? As well.
Are you any good at precision platformers?
Oh, I really suck at precision platforming. Because here's the problem: like when you use the WASD key configuration and you try and jump, it's like you normally use the W for like jumping, but then you realize like, crud, the space bar is for jump now, not the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah. The abilities you have, you got the second jump, and you also can slow time as well. And sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not useful, and it can drive you mad. As for the biggest flaw with the game, like there are some elements where you're like near the platform you're going to, and it's like, dang it, I was so close. It's like Mario. Remember the old Mario games where it's like 1 pixel short and you fall off the ledge?
So what you're saying is you suck at it.
Yep. But yeah, it's fun though, because you can try as many times as you want, and it's challenging. So I would give that game a 4 out of 5. So on to our shoutouts. On the 19th of January 2008, it's been 12 years since Avatar: The Last Airbender aired its final episode on Nickelodeon. So 12 years ago, the final episode of Last Airbender aired, and this acclaimed series draws from Eastern mythology and combines it with Western animation. It's been in the top 10 most watched TV series on Netflix since it was added to the service in May. Oh, I want to watch that series. I want to watch that series now.
And you can.
Yep.
Just get us through the podcast and you can do whatever you want.
So, on the 19th of July 2020, Minecraft original title screen World Seed finally found after 9 years. So the Minecraft at Home team took just months to find the elusive title screen background map seed, which defines the features of a randomly generated world many times the size of the Earth. Almost impossible to reverse engineer, yet they managed to find the exact location using distributed computing. I mean, that's incredible. After 9 years, they managed to find that.
Well, it only took them a month once they started looking. So the way it worked was a month or so ago, they decided they would look. They created a script that would farm out to different computers around the world to generate a map, check for the conditions that are for the background map, and then if it doesn't find it, start again. But they are doing some other interesting stuff. Like I checked out their website tonight, and they found a 21 block high cactus.
Wow,
that's not supposed to happen.
Oh man. I mean, thanks to this discovery, I think it will bring in a lot of more Minecraft fans.
Bring more in, you say? I think Minecraft already has everyone.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, Roblox is still there.
People will go back and try it out.
Yeah,
definitely.
I've been meaning to ask though, which is better, Roblox or Minecraft?
They've both got different use cases. Roblox is all about creating levels with people, building little mini games. Really, they're pretty different in the grand scheme of things. So they're targeting the same age group, but they're targeting a different core user base. Because Minecraft's whole stick is, be creative, build massive houses and stuff, and then survival mode and stuff, right? Fight zombies and things. And then, Roblox is all about creating mini-games to share for online community. So in some ways, they're a crossover because of the online multiplayer, but sort of don't. And that's how they've both stayed alive for so long, because Roblox is older than Minecraft by a couple of years. So, I don't know, I can't really say which one was better. I mean, personally, I would probably say Minecraft because I've played that more. I really have touched Roblox. So.
And I bet you after playing a bit of Minecraft, you turned into David Cage and say, "Give me more!"
Who doesn't?
Exactly.
Everyone loves Minecraft.
Yep. So on the 20th of July 2020, in a first, UAE, United Arab Emirates spacecraft blasts off to Mars from Japan. So it's launched their first spacecraft. Amal, meaning hope, will observe the upper atmosphere and the Martian climate for the next 2 years. The first Emirati in space only made it there last September when Hazar al-Mansouri flew to the ISS. And if I recall, like they have a very they have an ambition of settling in Mars in 2117.
That feels like a long way off. Is that the Emirates who want to do that?
Yeah.
Gonna have to beat Elon there. Pretty sure Elon would like to have been on Mars last Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Cheese.
Cheese is on the moon.
You're right. Yeah.
Moon's made of cheese. Yeah. So Tuesday anywhere else in the solar system, Cheese Day on the moon.
Of course.
So on our remembrances, on the 20th of July, 1866, Bernhard Riemann, George Frederick Bernhard Riemann was a German mathematician who contributed to analysis, number theory, and differential geometry. The Riemann integral, Riemann surfaces, and Riemann hypothesis were all named after him. His work formed the foundations of the mathematics used for general relativity. He died of tuberculosis at the age of 39 in Silasca, the Kingdom of Italy. 20th of July 1973, Bruce Lee. Lee Jun-fan, known as Bruce Lee, was the actor, director, martial artist, instructor, and philosopher who founded Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist, which was the predecessor to mixed martial arts. He was also a major pop culture icon linking the East and West. He died at 32 in Kunlun Tong with brain swelling due to effects of equagesic. Not a good way to go.
Equagesic. So I was looking into that. It's a combination drug for painkiller and reducing anxiety.
Yeah.
And the autopsy labeled his death by misadventure. So I guess I feel like it's a side effect of the equagesic, but it's hard to say. I'm not a medical expert.
Yeah, I will say this: like Bruce Lee's movies are beautiful to watch. Like his Way of the Dragon, for example, was it? Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah, every frame of painting has quite a good analysis of his style.
Yeah, wait, that's the one. You guys got any good Bruce Lee movies you ever saw?
Haven't seen any of his yet. But you got to be in the right mood, so we'll get around to it. Don't worry. Don't scold me yet.
Neither have I. You're the odd one out here, DJ.
So on the 20th of July 2005, James Montgomery Doohan portrayed Montgomery Scott, better known as Scotty, in Star Trek. Before acting, he was in the Canadian infantry and fought in the Normandy landings on D-Day. He contributed to the development of Klingon and Vulcan, two Konglangs used by their namesakes in the show. James inspired many to take on engineering roles, but one moment that has stuck with him was helping a suicidal fan. His ashes have been launched to space several times. And yes, he beamed up. My favorite memory of Scotty, by the way, was the fight with the Klingons in the bar. And how the Klingons are like, your Star Trek ship should be hauled away as garbage. And Scotty throws the first punch.
I like the bit where he goes, they go back in time and find an old Apple computer. And he thinks the mouse is a microphone. So he picks up the mouse and he's just like, hello, computer.
Although it's interesting how he with the Scottish accent, he didn't really speak Scottish in real life, did he?
No, he was Canadian.
I was like, I can't believe it. Scotty's not Canadian? Huh, okay. Famous birthdays on the 20th July 1889. John Reed, first Baron Reed. John Charles Welsham Reed. The first Baron Reed started his career in broadcasting with no experience when he saw an ad for a general manager for the unformed BBC. He pushed for the BBC to be a public service broadcaster to ensure the independence of the service. Once he left the BBC, he stopped consuming television and radio, stating, "When I leave a thing, I leave it." He was born in Stonehaven, Kincardineshire. 20th of July 1932, Nam June Paik. Nam June Paik was the creator of the term electronic superhighway, which likely led to the first use of information superhighway, a nickname for the internet. However, there is no proof he ever used that particular term. He promoted the development of redundant telecommunications across the US at a 1974 conference. Nam was born in Keijo, now known as Seoul.
Seoul.
Thank you. On the 20th of July 1947, Gerd Binning. Gerd Binning was a German physicist who won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1986 for the joint invention of the scanning tunneling microscope, the first microscope that could image surfaces at the atomic level. He was born in Frankfurt am Main. What's the difference between that and the electron microscope then? Isn't the electron microscope also does the same thing?
I believe it's a type of electron microscope.
Okay. Might be the magnifications?
No, just an electron microscope is a class.
Okay.
So this is specifically a scanning tunneling microscope. There's also, I think, an SEM.
So on to our events of interest. The 20th of July, 1968, the first Special Olympics, International Special Olympics, mind you, are held at Soldier Field in Chicago with about 1,000 athletes with intellectual disabilities. So on the 20th of July, 1968, the first International Special Olympics Summer Games were held in Soldier Field, Chicago with 1,000 athletes with disabilities. And McGlone Burke, a PE teacher, began the idea and worked with the Kennedy Foundation to create a U.S.-Canadian Olympics. On the 20th of July, 1969, the Apollo program, where the Apollo 11's crew successfully makes the first manned landing on the moon in the Sea of Tranquility. America's Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin become the first humans to walk on the moon 6.5 hours later, and with one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And it took 8 years from the JFK's announcement of the moon landing program by the end of the decade, and they just squeezed it in by 6 months to spare. That was a really contentious space to race, wasn't it?
Well, the whole thing was preventing nuclear war, so of course.
Yeah.
And the whole point of the space race was to flex on Russia.
Yeah. You reckon we're seeing the next? You reckon we're seeing the next space race?
Sort of. I think
there's a corporate space race going on in the US and around the world, really. But in terms of geopolitics, I think the next space race is hacking technology, and that's not hugely public for obvious reasons.
On the 20th of July, 1969, a ceasefire is announced between Honduras and El Salvador 6 days after the beginning of the football war. After rioting during a FIFA World Cup qualifier, the Salvadorian military attacked Honduras. However, the match was only the last straw for the tense relationship. I love how they come up with those names, like the football war.
Well, the instigating incident was the FIFA match. So even though they'd both been at each other's throats for ages, the footy match happened, and then they were like, "Right, that's it. I'm getting me mallet."
I like how both of the sides were using World War II era designed aircraft.
Yep.
Oh, man. And apparently the war was the last conflict in which piston-engined fighters fought each other. So on the 20th of July, 1976, the American Viking 1 lander successfully lands on Mars. On the 7th anniversary of Apollo 11 lunar landing, the Viking 1 lander, an unmanned U.S. planetary probe, became the first spacecraft to successfully land on the surface of Mars. In 1976, on the anniversary of the moon landing, the lander successfully touched down on Mars. It was a successful landing, and all but one instrument reported negative result for life, but there's still debate over the result of the fourth test. So that begs the question: will we ever? Will there be life on Mars?
I say potentially, as it's known Mars did have life. So even though they don't find life, they might find evidence of previous life, which I think they already have in some ways. But
yeah, this test would show evidence of past life, and it's contentious because there's a lot of sources of possible organic compounds that they found, and only a few of them are life. But then there's debate about whether there'd be enough of the organic compounds around to actually seem like if it wasn't just if it was just from the rocks decaying and not from a actual living organism.
It's difficult to tell, hey? I mean, only time will tell, really.
Yeah.
And finally, on the 20th of July, 1977, the Central Intelligence Agency releases documents under the Freedom of Information Act revealing it had engaged in mind control experiments. So in 1977, during a hearing held by the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence to look further into MK2 Ultra, Admiral Stansfield Turner, then director of Central Intelligence, revealed that the CIA had found a set of records consisting of about 20,000 pages that survived the 1973 destruction orders because they had been incorrectly stored at a record center not usually used for such documents. MK Ultra involved drugging unwitting civilians using drugs including LSD for various nefarious purposes, including mind control. At least one death occurred, and the CIA ordered the destruction of all records, only missing some that had been misfiled. Boy, I hate to be the intern of that. So, anything else before we wrap it up?
Well, I was looking at the page to see if there were any new TNC podcasts. Have we shouted out to Warm Red Earth before?
Yes, we have.
Okay, well, I'm going to shout out again to them because I listened to their first episode the other day and I liked it.
Nice, nice.
Warm Red Earth is a podcast about the odder parts of Australian history. So forgotten history, folklore, and a bit of superstition.
Nice. How about you, Davey Boy? Anything else planned? Davey Boy?
He's died.
Yep.
Gonna need a new co-host. Uni was too much for him.
It was either that or the VR chat. So that's all we have for this week.
Oh wait, I'm still here.
He's alive.
I thought I accidentally muted my mic and didn't realize it. That's how tired I am. You were correct.
Yeah.
I'm alive. Don't. Anyways.
All right, wrap us up, DJ. Let's let this man get to bed.
Yep. So, that's all we have for this week. Where can they find us, Professor?
On that'snotcanonproductions.com, or that'snotcanon.com now. Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere you can get your podcasts. Our Facebook page, Nerds Amalgamated, where we post more details in our show notes. So if there's anything you want to find out more about, we have more details there. And you can support us for $5 a month on Pod Hero, where a portion of your subscription fee goes to all of the podcasts you listen to.
We also have Twitter as well, where we
do have Twitter, yes.
Oh yeah, where we retweet and like some cool stuff on Twitter. So take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, and hooroo.
And we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.